I don't even
Bro,
need
you are
anyone's
actually Overwatch.
No,
You
no,
are
no, no.
delusional, bro. You are delusional,
keep at
bro.
the co. Keep at the co. Keep at
We
the
mean
co,
keep up the
bro.
curve, bro. You're 13 and 9. I'm 16 and 2, bro. I'm
Yeah,
good.
you're avoiding death. You're getting overhealed.
I don't care if you're a 5v5 lover or a 6v6 lover. We can all agree that tanking is just probably the most miserable role to play, and I'm just gonna basically talk about why it sucks. So when it comes to counter swapping, it's more like a tank and support issue, but I will talk about the supports in a second. But you guys know the gist. You go Diva, then they go Zarya, then you go Monkey, then they go Hog, and then you go Hog, and then now you're both playing Hog. And that's my main issue with counter swapping, is that you always end up on either playing Hog, Orisa, or Mauga, or Sigma. It feels like you literally just play 4 tanks in the game, or you're just consistently switching throughout the whole game. And see, before anyone comments, I know counter swapping is a part of the game. I do enjoy it. It forced me to learn to play different characters, which made me a better player. But now it doesn't feel like you're counter swapping to actually get better and actually try to compete against the other tank. It just feels like it's something that you have to do or you lose. When before, you didn't have to switch, the game would be harder of course because you're playing against your counters, but it was still doable. But especially in the 5v5 format, for me personally, it just feels like it's almost unplayable. Especially if you play like mainly dive tanks like let's say Diva, Winston, Bull, Doomfist. Essentially the other team would just go 5 complete counters, and then you basically can't play any dive tank because they're already playing anti-dive, so you just basically have to switch it off back to the default characters. So I'm not really sure what they can do here, I'm not gonna lie, because I think the format is just the biggest issue, but they would probably need to buff the dive tanks so they can actually be a lot more playable and viable. So instead of having to play, you know, the full defaults Mauga, Orisa, Sigma, it'd be nice to see a lot more Doomfist. It'd be a lot more nicer to see Winston, Divas. But most of the time when people just play Winston, they just end up switching straight off to Hog. And it just becomes really boring because there's no variety in the game. You're basically just always playing the same shit. But it's not even just that. It feels like as well, if your supports are not playing certain characters like Ana, Kiriko, Bap, it just feels like you don't automatically lose, but it just feels like the game becomes 10 times harder. Like trying to play against a Zen and Ana is probably one of the most painful things without Kiriko. Because if you're discorded as a tank, you will get beamed. So what you end up doing is you run around the corner until the discord is off you, then you peek. And then guess what happens? You get antied, so you basically have to do the same thing. You run around the corner until you're unantied. And it basically becomes this like game of just throw all your utility at a tank so he can't gain any space or push. And it's still playable. Like I've won games without a Kiriko against Ana and Zen. But I can tell you for a fact that it's probably the most like tedious thing to deal with because I'm literally just playing around the corner every single second because I'm just being spammed with abilities. Coincidental part is that I don't really have this issue with Diva since she has Matrix, or even Sigma because she has Kinetic Grasp. It's mainly just like tanks with like Mauga, Hog, and Orisa that this is an issue. And this is why I always say that we do need 6v6 because if we had the second tank that would be, let's say, the Diva, then she could actually eat up those abilities for me and I can actually be able to gain space as a main tank. When it comes to the responsibility of the tank, there's way too much you need to do. Let's take this for example. As a support player, all you do is heal and use your abilities to save your teammates to win the game. DPS, you get picks. You try to kill people off angles, you're always looking for a kill so you can win the fight. Simple. With tank, you have to frontline, gain space, also peel the back line just in case they have dive, and then you also need to get picks so you can actually win the game, but you also need to take the brutality of like every single ability from all these supports and DPS players and the tank as well. And then do you see what I mean? It's like you have to basically play main tank and off tank while also playing not dive tank, but like you also have to peel back. It's like there's so much shit that you need to like do as a tank player that it just becomes extremely overwhelming. Like for me personally, I'm fine with it. I hate it and I hate the way you have to play it, but I know how to play it. But I can imagine there's a reason why a lot of people quit playing tank. There's a reason why I stopped playing tank in season 9 because with all the health buffs and everything, it literally just, tank was basically unplayable that season. And it's obviously a format issue because this was never an issue when it was 6v6. Of course, 6v6 had its own issues. Putting all this responsibility to one player, and they will probably get blamed even though they're playing the hardest role in the game, is just insane. Like I literally had a game, which is also a video, so go watch that. But I'll show you guys a clip. I don't think the Mystic Bucket is an issue, bro.
I think, no, I think her keeping you alive is actually throwing.
I think the 5 and 7 fold is actually throwing.
It means
Wait,
that
what?
she's helping you far more than she needs to. You should have been punished more. You shouldn't have had 0 deaths after that fuckery at the beginning. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
The reason why I had
You're
no
being
deaths is because I played position. Because I well positioned myself.
No.
Playing tank, not only does it feel frustrating and boring to play, but also you get shit from DPS players and support players, and then it just becomes like this whole mess of like, there was a game where my character kept missing a Suzu's, and then somehow she literally wrote tank diff, and yeah, that's the reason why my main account was suspended for 2 weeks. But it's just, I hate tank. So the skill gap, skill expression, whatever you want to call it, has basically just disappeared. Take this for example. You can definitely tell a difference between a gold Doomfist and a Grandmaster Doomfist. But can you really tell a difference between a gold mauga and a GM mauga? And this is why I don't like the new character designs of most of these characters, because they are so like plain and uninteresting to play, where it's like, I basically just don't use my brain and I just click buttons on my keyboard. And I hate playing like that. Like, I love playing Doomfist, Bold, Diva, Winston, because I actually have to use my brain. There's so many things I actually have to think about when I'm playing, like, dive tanks. But when I play, like, brawl tanks, especially, like, the default characters I mentioned earlier, Orisa, Sigma, Mauga, Hog, it just feels like I'm basically repeating the same shit over and over again. And I think that's what makes tanking the most boring, is that there's no variety of playstyles. It feels like you have to play in a certain way with a certain team to win games. And the thing is that in Overwatch 2, they wanted to feel like every single decision of each person mattered. But it feels like the opposite, where it feels like if I die first, we lose the fight. Also, if I don't have comms and my supports just want to play Mora and Alari, and they have Ana and Kiriko, like, then I have to completely change the way I play. I said, when I have to change the way I play, it's more like I just have to play so safe. So you're just basically doing the same thing over and over again. Like, it's just boring. There's no skill expression. I want to be able to play bold. Don't get me wrong. Counters will always exist, and they're always going to be harder to play around, but not like this. There's no reason a game should be, oh, I switched to one character and now I'm basically winning the match, or I just made my chances of winning like go up by like 60% because I decided to go Zarya because they went Diva. It's like, it's so dumb. Normally people are not always going to talk. People are not always going to play the characters you need them to play. So it becomes like this whole like toxic environment of like, I hate you support, I hate you tank, I hate you DPS, everybody hates each other, and then it's just a mess. So yeah guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm still grinding tank, sadly. I am streaming it on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok, so please go to the link in the description and check them out. Thank you guys again so much for all the love and support. I'm gonna keep grinding these videos since now I have more time off work, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.
I see one.
My ultimate is almost ready.
This is your warning.